Let's do that. Yeah. I can hear it. I can't see. It sucks because I can't see anything. So lift them slightly. And step down. Up. So that's okay, buddy. Okay, another grand ring. Yeah, the foot that they're putting forward is just a big party for the last 3 years. They what? And in Paris. And Philadelphia. Not just all of them. Chicago. All Brianna did is study these last 3 years. And I'm seeing pictures of her. Not just amazing. His parents are here.
Ladies and gentlemen, family and friends, please rise as we welcome the LSU Paul M. Hebert Law Center class of 2019. Good morning. I am Tom Galligan, and it is my great good fortune to be the Dean of the LSU Paul M. Hebert Law Center. On behalf of our students, our faculty, and our staff, I am excited to welcome you to our hooding and commencement exercises for the class of 2019. They love you. To open our ceremony, I invite you to remain standing and join in singing our national anthem, led by Alana Gleason.
The twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, give proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you, Alana. I now invite my friend Carlos Coro to provide the student welcome. Carlos is the Student Bar Association Executive President. He's from Coral Gables, Florida, and received his bachelor's degree in economics from Florida State University. It has been a wonderful year working with him. Carlos and his parents are in the front row.
This thing on? This is nerve-wracking being up here in front of all y'all. Good morning, moms, dads, grandmas, grandpas, significant others, extended family, and friends. Thank you all for joining us on this special day. And thank you to the viewers tuning in via our live broadcast as well. It's my honor to welcome you to the 2019 Paul M. Hebert Law Center Commencement Ceremony. I don't have much time to speak with you, but I wanted to take this special opportunity to share some words with you. Firstly, I want to say congratulations to my classmates. We made it through law school, and it's been a long and strange trip. If there's one thing that I've learned throughout law school, it's that the best answer to any legal question is maybe. I want to share a story with you about the power of the word maybe. It's about a farmer who lost his horse. It ran away, and his neighbors came over that evening and said, "Hey, that's too bad that you lost your horse." And the farmer said, "Maybe." Well, the next day, the farmer's horse returned with 7 wild horses. And the neighbors came over and said, "Hey, that's a wonderful thing, right?" Well, and the farmer, he said, "Maybe." Well, the following morning, the farmer's son went to tame one of the horses. But as he was taming this horse, he was thrown off and broke his leg. So the neighbors came over and they said, "Gee, that's just too bad, huh?" Well, the farmer, of course, he said, "Maybe." So the following day, the quartermaster and the conscription officers arrived in the village looking for young recruits to join the army. But the farmer's son was looked over because his leg had been broken the day before. So the neighbors gathered around and they said, "That's wonderful, right?" The farmer took a step back and He said, well, maybe. The mystery of life is an integrated process of immense complexity, and it's truly impossible to tell whether anything that happens is good or bad, because there's no way to predict the consequences of misfortune or the consequences of good fortune. All there is left for us to do is to trust in the universe and to recognize its omens and to speak in its language, the language of love. Congratulations, everyone.
Thank you, Carlos. Now I'm pleased to introduce some of the very special guests who have joined us today. Please stand as your names are called. Mr. James Williams, Chair of the LSU Board of Supervisors. Dr. F. King Alexander, President of Louisiana State University. Michael Coonan, former LSU Law professor, currently at Seton Hall Law School and today's commencement speaker. And Michael is joined by his spouse Anna and daughter Alice. From the Law Center, Associate Dean Andrea Carroll. And performing today is the LSU School of Music Norum Brass Quintet and Friends. The Norum Brass Quintet is named for Richard Norum Sr., grandfather of Eric Norum, a member of today's graduating class. I would ask Mr. Norum Sr. to please stand. Mr. Norum is a former professor and associate dean at the LSU School of Music. He worked at LSU for over 35 years. He served in the President's own Marine Corps band under President Eisenhower and played in the Baton Rouge Symphony for over 51 years. He is a Tiger through and through, and we welcome him and the Norum Brass Quintet and friends today. We're also excited to have our Golden Grads with us this morning. The Golden Grads are members of the LSU Law Class of 1969. They are here to celebrate their 50th reunion. We hope that today will be meaningful to all our Golden graduates and a great reminder of your years at the Law Center. Please join me in recognizing and paying tribute to the LSU Law Golden graduates, members of the Class of 1969. They were, by the way, the very first class to petition for a separate Law Center commencement, and 50 years later, we're still going strong. One of my very best friends in the whole world, and literally a friend to all, the late Cheney Joseph, was a member of this class. He is not physically with us today because he passed away while serving as co-interim dean of the Law Center in December 2015. But Cheney is always with us and will always be part of his class and part of the LSU Law Center. Now I'd like to recognize my colleagues, the outstanding faculty of the Law Center. These men and women are the teachers and scholars who are vital to our mission. These professors educate and mentor our students. Please join me in applauding our faculty for their dedication to our students and LSU. I want to recognize our adjunct faculty, all of whom are listed on the back of your program and some of whom are with us. They are distinguished attorneys and judges who generally share their time and knowledge with our students to provide a more enriching academic experience. Please join me in thanking our wonderful adjunct faculty. And our staff are simply remarkable individuals and an incredible team. They are the ones who brought this commencement ceremony to fruition. Many of them are here, and I ask you, please join me in recognizing and thanking them. Now I ask a favor of our graduates. Many people, in addition to those we have already recognized, have contributed to your success and all that you have accomplished. Those people include your family and your friends. Many of them are here with you today. Others are with you in spirit. I invite you to please recognize all of them right now with a rousing round of applause. Let me also say thank you to the 3L class for its class gift. Each year, the graduating class collaborates with the Alumni Office to find a way to commemorate its transition from being students to being alumni. The 2019 senior class gift is a very special one, as it will honor the memory of their classmate, Adam Dowse, who will be recognized later today with a posthumous degree from the LSU Law Center. Proceeds from the senior class gift drive will go to the Adam Dowse Memorial Scholarship. Adam passed away suddenly, tragically, and unexpectedly last spring. Today, we all honor his achievements and his memory, and we welcome Adam's family. His parents, Wally and Marlene Dowse, his sister, Dr. Marley Dowse Martinez, his aunt, Gina Comer, and his cousin, David Dawns. Welcome. Okay, before we go on, let's stop for a second and take a little break. I want to ask you to once again do something I asked you to do 3 years ago on your very first day of law school. Take a deep breath. No, I'm serious. Take another one. All right, there you go. After all, that first day of orientation 3 years ago was a really big day for you. Today's a really big day. Don't let it pass by without pausing and reflecting. You all have done an awful lot to get here. You have completed one of the most demanding educational programs in the world. You have finished law school, and you have done it at LSU, an institution that still prides itself, as you all know, on providing a challenging, rigorous program. You should be proud of yourselves. I know your family, friends, faculty, and me are very proud of you. So enjoy the feeling and enjoy the moment. Like so many things, it will pass all too fast, and before you know it, you will be as old, but maybe not as bald as me, and you will say, gosh, it seems like only yesterday I was graduating from law school. I would not be surprised if some of our golden grads aren't thinking exactly that right now. And I ask you to reflect. I will tell you that I have done some reflecting myself, some reflecting on LSU Law, a place that I have loved for a long time, and some reflecting about you, the class of 2019. You are a fantastic group of people. You were the first new class to welcome the new dean in the summer of 2016. And as you welcomed me, I welcomed you. Remember, I was 6'5", had a full head of hair? I did ask you to take a deep breath, and then the president welcomed you. It was a great day, but I dare say none of us quite anticipated what was coming next. If we had been learned at hand, we would certainly not have precisely calculated the L we were about to go through. That's a little inside baseball, friends. And that L, or anticipated loss, was caused by a lot of rain, and I mean a lot of rain. You see, everyone, sometime on that first day of orientation, it started raining in Baton Rouge. And it kept raining, and it kept raining. There was no second day of orientation. LSU was closed, and the opening of school was delayed. People, including students, staff, and faculty, suffered severe property damage and emotional distress. Many were forced to find new places to live. That no-name storm dumped 3 times as much rain on Louisiana as Hurricane Katrina. And Baton Rouge, Denham Springs, Lafayette, and surviving environs were a disaster, literally a disaster. Friends, this class was metaphorically born of that storm. If I can borrow from the story, like the passengers on the ark, this class survived the flood. They were, in a way, born as a unit from that flood, and they have survived and they have thrived. They came together as a group during that very trying period, supporting one another, their families, and the community. They, and we still think of, wished the best to those students who, because of those floods and the consequent demands, decided to forego law school. From this class's first days together, they molded and shaped an identity as a concerned, collaborative, committed, and concentrated group. They're diverse. They're different genders. They're different races. They're different religions, if any. They have different political views, and they come from different parts of the country. We celebrate that diversity and those differences, and at the same time, the class of 2019 are one, having come together out of those floods as a cohesive and compassionate unit. They have made this law school a better place. I thank them and I praise them. They have won national championships in advocacy. They have published great journals. They have given countless hours to pro bono work and to community service. They have dedicated themselves to helping us to develop the resources to better serve our students and our own mental health. I could go on and on and on about them. They are great, and they have taught us much. Thank you. That's a good thing, because a university is a place for learning, a place where people learn from each other. If I may pause and reflect for just a second myself, this has been a learning year for me. As many of you know, our middle daughter, Aisling, was diagnosed with lung cancer in October. It is an aggressive and mean strain. She is battling it courageously and tenaciously. I have spent the year traveling and worrying, trying to be a good father while also trying to be an adequate teacher and dean. I could never have had the little success I have had without the help of many, my family, my staff, my friends, and our students. And you, the class of 2019, have been incredibly supportive. You have offered good thoughts and prayers. You have made contributions on Aisling's behalf. You have gathered on the Law Center's iconic steps to visually wish her well. Those of you in my Admiralty class have tolerated my occasional Skyping and one film lecture to an empty room. As you know, I tried to picture where you were. So thanks. It was a little spooky. So thanks. And if I may take just another minute, I would like to share some of what I have learned this year. First, wash your hands. Clean hands really do kill germs. At least they keep them at bay. There is a reason why in the restroom there are signs that say employees must wash their hands. In cancer treatment centers, the signs are a little more aggressive. Everyone must wash their hands. So wash your hands. Second, when you cough or sneeze, use your elbow area to cover your mouth and nose. It works better. If you use your hands, you just defeated the purpose of washing them. If you don't do anything, that is human malpractice. And in torts, we would say intent. By the way, my family would tell you I am still working on the hand washing and the perfect sneeze technique, but I try. Third, moving away from hygiene, be nice. It matters. People notice it and they appreciate it. Fourth, and this relates to three, and it definitely relates to you as lawyers. When we see a doctor with Aisling, he or she is generally the only doctor we see in the day, or maybe we see two. The doctors, of course, see way more patients than we see doctors, but every patient matters. Every patient is an individual with individual concerns, issues, and fears. So is every client. Every client needs your full attention. Every client needs you to focus on them, be patient for them, and have the appropriate emotional response for them, which almost always contains some significant degree of compassion. As my colleague at the University of Tennessee, Professor Judy Cornett, used to say in her East Tennessee accent, which I will not try to duplicate, you'll see a lot of clients in a day, but every client will see one lawyer. Remember that. And finally, I probably should have learned more. My family reminds me of that regularly, but I do try. And my trying is the point. Do your best. It's the best you can do. As Professor Lonegrass said in the coif ceremony, I think I'm saying it slightly differently, trust yourself. Carlos said the same thing, trust yourself. Don't beat yourself up for not doing more than you can, but make sure you really are doing your best. Wait, I got one more. Every day is precious. Every day matters. Every day may not be great. Some days may be hard. Some days may flat out suck. But every day is precious. Every day is a treasure. Cherish each and every one. So one last time, and I ask the whole Pete Maravich Assembly Center to join us, take a deep breath. This is a great and precious moment. Savor it. Congratulations. Commencement is a beginning. It is a beginning of your future, but it is also an end or a conclusion. Today marks the end of a long and distinguished career as Chancellor Emeritus and Professor of Law John J. Costonis retires from teaching at the conclusion of this academic year. He has taught as a regular or visiting faculty member at the law schools of the University of Pennsylvania, Illinois, Berkeley, and New York University. He has served successfully and successively as the Vanderbilt Law School Dean, and then from 1998 to 2007 as the LSU Law Center Chancellor. He is an outstanding leader and teacher and a wonderful scholar whose dedicated service has been exemplary. Professor Costonis. Thank you. We also bid adieu, farewell, or hopefully see you later, to Professor Lauren Aronson, as she is leaving to join the faculty at the University of Illinois. Professor Aronson has been an integral part of the Law Center's clinical program, in particular building a very successful immigration law clinic. She's been a wonderful teacher, a fabulous colleague, and a great friend. We will miss her very much, but I, for one, know that the road away from Baton Rouge sometimes leads back again. Professor Aronson. Speaking of roads leading back to Baton Rouge, it is now my pleasure to introduce former LSU Law Professor Michael Coonan, who returns to Baton Rouge this morning to give one final address to the graduating class of 2019. Professor Coonan taught at the LSU Law Center from 2013 to 2018. A favorite among students, he was voted Professor of the Year by LSU Law students in 2 of his 5 years at the Law Center. He was also honored with the LSU Alumni Association Rising Faculty Research Award in 2016. Professor Coonan joined Seton Hall Law in 2018 as a tenured full professor, teaching courses in administrative law, comparative law, constitutional law, U.S. constitutional law, constitutional theory, and federal courts. He has a national reputation as a scholar of constitutional law, having published in the Yale Law Journal, Columbia Law Review, University of Pennsylvania Law Review, Virginia Law Review, Vanderbilt Law Review, and Minnesota Law Review. His work focuses on the structure and implementation of public law norms, paying special attention to the challenges that courts confront when translating abstract legal dictates into workable rules of public law doctrine. His research has contributed to ongoing scholarly inquiries concerning the relationship between rights and remedies, the trade-offs between rules and standards, and hierarchical relationships within the federal judiciary, among other things. His work also has uncovered patterns of argumentation and reasoning that exist across traditional doctrinal boundaries, and it has offered prescriptive insights as to how judges and practitioners might deploy them in a consistent and coherent manner. He was a Clemenko Fellow and lecturer at Harvard Law School. He holds an A.B. in music from Princeton University, where he graduated summa cum laude, and a JD from Yale Law School, where he was an articles editor for the Yale Law Journal. After graduating from law school, he clerked for Judge Guido Calabresi of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. The 2019 graduating class selected Professor Coonan to deliver their commencement address, a true testament to the impact he has had on his students while a professor at the LSU Law Center. We welcome him back to Baton Rouge today with excitement, anticipation, and open arms. Professor Coonan.
Thank you. Thank you to the class of 2019 for having me today. It is wonderful to be able to crash your party. I'm having a great time on stage. So thank you. It's great to be here. So despite Dean Galligan's best efforts to prop me up as an imminent commencement speaker, I think we should all just admit to ourselves that I am by far the least accomplished speaker in recent law school history. I have never been elected to office. I have not been appointed to serve as a judge. I've never run an agency. I have not been a rainmaker for a fancy law firm, the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, or any other person of prominence or influence. Indeed, even within the world of legal academia, I'm a pretty average dude. My main claim to fame is that I'm probably the only member of the Legal Academy whose one and only job offer took the form of an email that was routed to my spam folder. All of which is to say that if you take anything away from my speech today, it should be my urgent admonition to always check your spam folder. You never know what sort of highly consequential stuff will end up there. So, having revealed to you the error in your commencement speaker selecting ways, let me attempt to salvage the situation as best I can. I can't give you any sort of recipe for great fame and fortune because I don't have any, but I am in the somewhat unusual position of having given another commencement address in my life. It was a speech I delivered to my fellow classmates back when I was graduating from high school. Naturally, I thought back to this speech when Dean Galligan invited me to address you all today, and I wondered how well it would hold up. So I dug up the speech, and I was disappointed to discover that my precocious 18-year-old self didn't know what the hell he was talking about. It wasn't just a matter of occasional embarrassing mistakes. Rather, the entire conceit of my high school graduation speech was irredeemably flawed. It reminded me of the sort of half-baked theories and observations I used to propose to Professor Sullivan during our carpool rides between New Orleans and Baton Rouge, to which he would respond to me with an incredulous look and the statement, "Michael, are you kidding me?" No amount of revising, rewriting, reorganizing, etc. would suffice to render that a suitable vehicle for my remarks today. But then I got to thinking, even if I couldn't self-plagiarize, the speech from May 2001 could function as a useful foil for my remarks today. Specifically, maybe I could frame this talk around the reasons why and how I got so much so wrong in that earlier speech. That wasn't a great realization for me because it meant I would have to actually write another speech. But it was better than nothing. So let's begin with our critical examination of young Michael's graduation speech. The animating insight of that speech was that living one's life could be analogized to participating in a long-distance running race. Thus, young Michael maintained, in order to understand life, we need to understand running. And as it turns out, my 18-year-old self definitely understood running because my 18-year-old self had spent 4 years in high school doing track and cross-country. Thus, it fell upon my 18-year-old self first to explicate the lessons learned from my running career and to extrapolate from those lessons a broader set of principles that govern the life well lived. Now, my beef with the speech wasn't so much with the particular piece of advice I came up with, though if you went back and look at it, it's highly unoriginal stuff. The central problem rather derived from the metaphor that motivated it. Simply put, I now reject the idea that we should think about life as a running race. And I reject that idea not simply because I'm now a much slower runner than I was back in my prime. I believe the running race metaphor suffers from 3 major flaws. First, it falsely posits a course to our lives that exists separate and apart from the choices we make. Second, it harmfully equates the life to be lived with a competition to be won. And finally, it attributes to our lives a transitory finiteness that we need not and should not accept. Let's call these shorthandedly the constraint problem, the competition problem, and the closure problem. And by the way, if what I just said sounded alarmingly like a lesson plan, I would just note that this is another downside to having a law professor as your commencement speaker. So, on the issue of constraints, the running race metaphor equates the living of one's life with the completion of a preset course. But that image obscures the critical role that we ourselves play in charting our own courses. The metaphor denies, in other words, that we hold the power to dictate the direction of our own lives. Now, this power is not enjoyed equally. Forces like poverty, prejudice, and subjugation continue to inhibit freedom across the world and within our own country, leaving all too many persons genuinely stuck in entrenched cycles of limited opportunity. But you all have managed to transcend those limits. Indeed, if we really want to home in on the value of the degree you are receiving today, this is a key aspect of it. You possess a knowledge base, skill set, network of peers that lays down countless possible paths for you to consider and explore. You have a tremendous opportunity not just to do meaningful things with your lives, but to choose for yourself what those meaningful things will be. I know it always doesn't feel that way. You have loans to repay. I'm not repaying them, by the way. I just want to make that very clear. You have familial obligations. You have geographic restraints. The firm you really wanted to work at ended up hiring someone else, and so forth. And trust me, I get it. I'm not suggesting that you have unlimited power always to do whatever you want. I've come to terms with the fact that I'm probably not going to win an NBA championship, headline a Jazz Fest, or appear on the cover of Vogue magazine. I haven't ruled out the last possibility. None of that changes the fact that I, like you all, enjoy a substantial degree of autonomy and control to pursue work that matters to me, to learn about things that interest me, to be with people that energize me, and in countless other ways, to mold my own life to my own liking. It cannot be emphasized enough. This is a power you all now hold in spades. It is a power for which you should be immensely grateful and a power that you should never be shy to use. Now, obviously, that point is worth harping on not just as a caution against defeatism in the face of future professional unhappiness. There's a further implication as well. Spider-Man's mentors have always told him that with great power comes great responsibility. And as people now empowered to assert control over your lives, you too must join Spider-Man in heeding this call. It is not enough, I would submit, simply to chart a course that maximizes personal gain to you. Rather, you should take care to ensure that your choices contribute to the well-being of others around you, finding ways to confront those oppressive forces that continue to constrain the freedom of so many of your fellow human beings. To put the point more bluntly, if you find yourself doing work that you regard as soulless, morally wrong, or unduly harmful to others, don't just throw up your hands and attribute the situation to forces beyond your control. Those forces are not beyond your control. Your enhanced power to choose what to do with your life carries with it an enhanced moral agency with respect to the things you end up doing. So that's the constraint critique. Let's move on to the competition problem. Here the problem stems from the metaphor's implicit definition of success. If life is a race to be run, then one would naturally define success as winning the race, that is, besting all the other runners one is pitted against. Now, in fairness to my younger self, our lives certainly do involve a substantial amount of interpersonal competition. You all know this from law school. From exams to law review to internships to clerkships, you've spent 3 years competing against one another and others for a variety of different honors and opportunities. Out in the real world, there will be clients, judgments, awards, electoral offices, and countless other finite resources to be fought over too, to say nothing of an adversarial system that expects you to compete with vigor on behalf of your clients. I understand, then, why you might be inclined to join my 18-year-old self in imagining your future in competition-based terms. So I don't mean to deny the reality that all of us do and should try to win the contests in which we find ourselves competing. But where the race metaphor goes awry is its suggestion that winning carries inherent values separate and apart from whatever our victories enable us to achieve. Athletes are no doubt familiar with the famous quote, frequently attributed to Vince Lombardi, though I first uttered, I believe, by Red Sanders, that, quote, winning isn't everything, it's the only thing, end quote. It's a clever, though arguably redundant, turn of phrase, and a perfectly fine sentiment with which to approach a football game. But it's a sentiment that ought to remain squarely confined to the playing field. Beyond sports and games, winning is neither everything nor the only thing. It merely reflects a sometimes necessary means of achieving independently important ends. To restate the conclusion in Lombardian terms, winning is a mere thing that helps us achieve other things. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, I realize I'm swimming against the tide here. This obsession with winning is a palpable part of the American zeitgeist, perhaps no better personified at the moment than by our country's president and his political enablers, and I suspect the competitive spirit is to some extent a constant and hardwired feature of basic human psychology. But even if we are unable to eliminate our collective tendency to think of everything in win-lose terms, I think we would do well to try and de-emphasize the idea of winning as an inherently significant goal. This is so for two reasons. First, I worry that the obsession with winning for the sake of winning can very easily morph into an obsession with winning at all costs. Once a win becomes self-justifying, once the reason you seek a win is because you love the feeling of winning, then you are well down the path to abandoning your principles, dehumanizing your adversaries, rationalizing bad behavior, and even undermining the values that prompted you to compete in the first place. If winning is the only thing, everything else becomes nothing. What is more, thinking about life in competition-based terms will all too often breed unhappiness and discontent within ourselves. We are naturally curious to see how we stack up against others, but that is neither a necessary nor especially helpful way of defining success within our lives. You ought simply to strive for excellence at what you do, to do the best you can do, without worrying much about whether you have achieved more excellence than some other group of persons or the most excellence of all such persons. Contrary to what the running race metaphor would imply, we are not competing against one another for some sort of first place at life prize. Rather, we are all simply trying to live good lives. And that brings me to my final critique, what I call the closure critique. When you stop and think about it, the running race metaphor has this rather macabre element of the finish line, a finite and discrete endpoint at which the race is over and the running is done. And there's a simplistic parallel here that my 18-year-old self was picking up on. We are born at the starting line, we age through the miles run, we reach our inevitable deaths at the finish. I cannot deny any of these biological realities, but I would resist casting them in such a stark and definitive light. What I instead believe is that our lives can have significance well beyond the point at which the running is done. We can see this point most clearly when we focus on the creative aspects of what we do each day. I use the term creative here not to refer merely to artistic and literary pursuits, but to all of the various ways in which we as human beings bring into existence things that did not exist before us. Our creative capacities run deep. We create many things: friendships, families, communities, institutions, knowledge, traditions, moments, movements, opportunities, and so much more. People often like to say that these creations reflect our imprint on the world, but I would go further. I would suggest that they are in a very real sense extensions of ourselves, means by which we can continue to exert causal force and confer value on the world well beyond the scope of our own lifetimes. Indeed, if pressed for a superior alternative to the running race metaphor, I would milk this idea for all it's worth. We would do well to imagine ourselves not as runners mindlessly completing a race that is nasty, brutish, and short, but rather as artists thoughtfully presiding over a canvas that is vast, inviting, and long-lasting. Blessed with the opportunity to fill in the canvas, we should all strive to make it look great, applying brushstrokes, patterns, textures, and color combinations that add up to a work of sublime beauty. A running race may conclude at the finish line, but artwork persists long past the point of its creation. And when making choices about our lives, choices about where and how to channel our creative efforts, we ought to reject the idea that our contributions to the world cease to matter as soon as our bodies are gone. Now, I concluded my high school graduation speech by name-dropping the title of one of my favorite Neil Young songs, Long May You Run. Though thematically germane to my remarks that day, the phrase made very little sense as a concluding exhortation. The goal of any running race, after all, is to complete the course as quickly as possible. Thus, the phrase, long may you run, describes pretty much the worst possible strategy that any cross-country runner could adopt. But bad as an ending as it was for my high school graduation speech, the line strikes me as not a half-bad conclusion for my remarks today. The one sentence that I will proudly self-plagiarize, or I guess re-plagiarize from Neil Young. What I've suggested, after all, is the adoption of a perspective that elevates choices over constraints, collaboration over competition, creation over closure, a perspective that sees the future ahead not as the mere remainder of a finite and transitory course, but rather as an open invitation to inject beauty and goodness into a world that desperately needs more beauty and goodness within it. And by accepting that invitation, you can achieve for yourself a sort of long-running success. Long-running not in the sense of slowly staggering towards some finish line that marks the end of the race, but rather in the sense of defying the very idea of a finish line to be crossed. So, LSU class of 2019, let me conclude by saying this. Go out into the world and do great things. Long may you run.
Professor Coonan, thank you for that inspirational speech. I would drop a footnote and say that the song is about a car, Long May You Run, and that it really is the only memorable song from the Stills Young Band that they ever had, but you've just made it live in infamy, so thank you. And in all seriousness, it was a wonderful speech, and we would like to present you with a memento of this auspicious occasion. We are grateful you are here with us today. Okay, we come to that time. It is almost time for hooding and the conferring of degrees. Before I call on Mr. Williams to confer the degrees, I want to tell you a little bit about the academic regalia and the academic and service honors that we will recognize today. Graduates, the robes that you wear have bell-shaped sleeves with 3 velvet chevrons, there's the chevrons, indicating that you are receiving a doctoral degree. The academic hood that will be placed on you signifies that you are receiving an advanced degree and denotes scholarly and professional achievement. Hooding is still new for us. It is a ceremony honoring you for having completed our advanced degree program, the JD or LLM, and for having earned the purple and gold hood symbolizing your Juris Doctor. PhD students have been hooded at commencement for years at LSU. Now it's our turn. You will be hooded today by Professor Missy Lonegrass, elected by the student body as the 2019 Professor of the Year, and by Mr. James Williams, Chair of the LSU Board of Supervisors. The colors of your academic hood signify both your academic discipline and the college or university where your degree is earned. The purple and gold in the fold of the hood signifies Louisiana State University. The outside of the hood is trimmed in purple velvet, royal purple, indicating that law is the supreme authority in our system of government and that your degree is in law. Wear your robe and hoods with pride. You have earned them. Each year, the local chapter of the Order of the Coif elects to membership from the top 10% of the graduating class those students who are deemed qualified. Today, we congratulate our 2019 Law Center graduates who have been named members of the Order of the Coif. Their names are listed in the program. Students recognized as the Order of the Coif are wearing white coifs on their mortar boards. In addition to the Order of the Coif, 2019 Juris Doctor and Graduate Diploma in Comparative Law candidates may receive their degrees summa cum laude, magna cum laude, or cum laude. These additional honors are reserved for those students graduating within the top 25% of the class. Degrees are awarded summa cum laude to students ranked in the top 2% of the class, magna cum laude to those ranked in the next 10% of the class, and cum laude to students ranked in the following 13% of the class. Students graduating with these academic honors may be recognized by their honor cords. Those graduating summa cum laude wear 1 gold and 1 purple cord. Magna cum laude graduates wear 2 gold cords, and cum laude graduates wear 2 purple cords. The names of our honor graduates are listed in the program. The Law Center also recognizes today students who have been inducted into the Order of the Barristers. The Order of Barristers is a national honorary organization whose purpose is the encouragement of oral advocacy and brief writing skills through effective law school oral advocacy programs. The Order provides national recognition for individuals who have excelled in advocacy and service at their school. Those graduates honored today were selected by a panel of faculty members. The names of students inducted into the Order of Barristers are also listed in the program, and they are wearing 2 silver cords. Today, we also recognize and thank students who have performed at least 50 hours of pro bono service. Pro bono, for good. We are proud of the commitment of the Public Interest Law Society at the Law Center and are pleased to include this service distinction in our recognition of graduates. Students completing over 50 hours of pro bono service wear 2 white graduation cords, and students completing over 100 hours wear 1 white cord and 1 green cord. And now, it is my privilege to call Mr. James Williams, Chair of the LSU Board of Supervisors, for the conferring of degrees. By the way, Mr. Williams is also an incredibly accomplished litigator. Thank you, Chair Williams, for being with us to discharge this important responsibility. Mr. Williams, on behalf of the faculty of the Law Center, it gives me great pleasure to present these candidates who have fulfilled the requirements for the Juris Doctor degree, the Graduate Diploma in Comparative Law, and the Masters of Law degree. Will the graduates of the class of 2019 please stand?
Thank you, Dean Galligan. I am honored to be here to carry out this important responsibility, as Dean Galligan said, not just as chairman of the board here at LSU, but also as a lawyer. You will soon learn a very important saying in our profession, and that is, if the law is not on your side, argue the facts. If the facts are not on your side, argue the law. And if the law and facts are not on your side, just argue, okay? And that was never more apparent than in one of my favorite trials at the turn of the century, where a businessman named Marcus Garvey was on trial, and the prosecutor who was trying to convict him didn't have the facts or law on his side. And so he sought to invoke the most dangerous, deadly, fierce animal he could, and he turned to the jury and he pointed at the defendant and he said, "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, will you let this tiger loose?" Trying to invoke that fear. And of course, the jury convicted him, and Mr. Garvey came and stood on the courthouse steps, and he said, "It's okay." The jury wanted to know, the prosecutor wanted to know whether or not he would let the tiger loose. But I'm here to tell him that the tiger is already loose, because the tiger isn't me, it's the impact I've already left on society. And so as we set you forth in society, I'm proud not only that you're joining our profession, but I'm proud that you all are becoming tigers, because that means you're going to leave an impact on this community and our profession long after your physical presence on earth. Now for the official words y'all stood to hear me say. Upon the high recommendation of the faculty of the Law Center, and by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Louisiana State University Board of Supervisors, I conferred the degrees of Juris Doctor, Graduate Diploma in Comparative Law, and Master of Laws upon the candidates who have satisfied the requirements for those degrees. In receiving these degrees, you're accepting a solemn obligation to your fellow citizens throughout your professional careers to serve the administration of justice, to maintain respect for the courts, of which you will become officers, and to uphold the dignity and sanctity of the law of the land. Congratulations. You may now be seated. As directed by our marshals, please come to the stage to receive your academic hood and diploma. The roll of graduates will be called by Associate Dean Andrea Carroll.
First, it's our pleasure to recognize and honor the students receiving the Masters of Law degree. Florencia Ibanez Bergeron. Gabrielle Colombani. Sandrine Couteau. Henri Age. Noémie Lecolotaire. Nancy Alexandra Maurice. Giovanna de Assis Barrera Silva. Next, we recognize and honor the students receiving the Juris Doctor or Juris Doctor and Graduate Diploma in Comparative Law. The LSU Law Center, with authority granted by the LSU Board of Supervisors, is pleased to award the posthumous degree of Juris Doctor and Graduate Diploma in Comparative Law to Adam Tabery Dowse. Adam passed away unexpectedly in his sleep on June 2nd, 2018, just prior to his third and final year of law school. He was beloved by his classmates with who graduate today. His memory will continue through the Autumn Tabery Dowse Memorial Endowed Scholarship established by his family, with added support from the LSU Law graduating class of 2019, who dedicated their LSU Law legacy gift to Adam's scholarship. Joining us to receive his diploma are his father, Wally Dowse, mother, Marlene Dowse, and his sister, Dr. Marley Dowse Martinez.
Thank you all very much. Adam was very proud to be a part of the class of 2019. I know he's proud of each of you today. I know in my heart he is with us today, and I hope you can all keep a part of him and you throughout your lives. Congratulations.
David Gerard Albano, summa cum laude in the Order of the Coif. Christopher J. Alderman. Nicholas Joseph Norman Algero. Rachel Marie Anderson, cum laude. Catherine Marie Ashe. Natalie Jihad Awad. Joseph William Bagnell. Brooke C. Ballinger, magna cum laude. Gregory John Barrow, Jr. Scott Fulton Bassett, cum laude. Hunter Brooks Bernard. Hayden Oliver Bigme, magna cum laude in the Order of the Coif. Benjamin Joseph Birdsall IV. Andrew Christopher Blasini. Kaylin Elizabeth Blosser. Casey Christina Bordelon. Olivia Grace Boudreau. Brandon Scott Bowman. Matthew James Braque. Catherine Claire Briley, cum laude. Anthony J. Buller. Teddy Nicole Buller. Johnston Jeffrey Burkhart. Jordan Patrick Caruso. Christopher Michael Shishay, cum laude. Christine Michelle Caldwell, cum laude. John Sherman Cook. Elizabeth Collier Cope. Carlos Daniel Coro. Matthew James Cotton. Miranda Craddock. Jacob Ian Cunningham, cum laude. Jordan E. Mashita Curette, cum laude. Sarah Grace Daniel, magna cum laude, and the Order of the Coif. Wesley Eubank Davis. Ashley Renee DeLone, magna cum laude, and the Order of the Coif. Brooke Hotard DeLon, cum laude. Parker Kyle Derenbecker. Justin Andrew DeCera, summa cum laude, and the Order of the Coif. Madeline Mackenzie Dixon. Sean Michael Donovan. Stephen Edward Downer. Will Jackson Dubose. Patrick Thomas Duncan. Chrissy Joe Dupree. Natalie Doumbali Ebolam. Kyle Joseph Eccles. Nina Marie Eddy, magna cum laude in the Order of the Coif. Kevin C. Ellis, magna cum laude. Lance Lewis Ngolia Jr. George Connor Fagan. Brianna Rose Falcon, magna cum laude in the Order of the Coif. Taylor Sloan Falcon. Anna Reed Fasciide, magna cum laude and the Order of the Coif. Christopher Cavett Fiesel. Aaliyah Catherine Fowler. Cole Cisco Frazier. Connor Ashley Fuselier. Alexandra Morgan Geisman. Mary Catherine Gember. Morgan Andrew Gonzalez. Alexander Timothy Griffin. John C. Dalton Griffin. Christopher James Gelzo. Brett D. Goupe, Jr. Carmen A. Guidry, magna cum laude, and the Order of the Coif. Bradley Christopher Guin, cum laude. Christopher R. Handy, magna cum laude, and the Order of the Coif. Jessica Susan Haypack. Cadence Rain Haskett. Kiara N. Heath. Michael Lewis Heaton, cum laude. Milton Joseph Hernandez IV, magna cum laude, and the Order of the Coif. Laura Elizabeth Herstrom. Chauncey Joseph Hesner, cum laude. Victoria Taryn Heyer. Taylor Davis Howell, cum laude. Conrad Raymond Huber. Randy Victoria Isles, magna cum laude in the Order of the Coif. Mary Elizabeth Ingram. Quintel Marquise Jackson. Grace Elizabeth Jennings. Jacob Ryan Jofrion.
Not our fault.
Matthew Browning Johnson. Megan Nicole Johnson. Spencer Allen Johnson. Danielle Maddox Kinchin, magna cum laude in the Order of the Coif. Sean Patrick King. Christian Lee Klima. Mariana Silvestri Kneister. David Philip Kobetz, magna cum laude. Aaron Emil Koink. Michael Andrew Kostruba. Elena Kusalas. Anne M. Lanier. Francis H. LaRose III. Aaron D. Lawrence. Christopher Michael Lawrence. Jordan Taylor LeBlanc. Nicole Stephanie Lemoyne. Elizabeth Ann Lockhart. Rochelle Norma Maldonado. David Allen McBride, Jr. Elena Brooke Wiggers McCain. John Michael Daniel McIntyre. William Antone Milburn, magna cum laude and the Order of the Coif. Zachary Stephen Miller. Caitlin Ilissa Mullaney. Asil Nashabi. Thomas Clay Nakan, magna cum laude and the Order of the Coif. Richard Frederick Norum III. Charles Slade Norfleet. Joseph Barron Odom. Brandon G. Pang. Emily Estelle Parrish. William Hardy Patrick IV, cum laude. Catherine Grace Pettis. Henry James Pittman. Matthew William Pivach, cum laude. Laura Len Poussin, cum laude. Daniel T. Price. John Taylor Rabelais. Harshini Handanethi Ranayaka. Molly Kirsten Reinhardt. Catherine Bell Remy. Jordan Blaze Retief, magna cum laude. Justin A. Rhodes. Rachel Lauren Bradford Richards. Mary Grace Richardson, magna cum laude in the Order of the Coif. Max McCain Roberts, summa cum laude and the Order of the Coif. Christopher Jude Roy III. Darius Benjamin Samples. Benoy Kieran Sanil. Carter Lee Sayers. Shelby Renee Schecksnyder. David James Scotton. Sohil B. Sherdalal. Jalen Aber Seymour. Clinton Jarrett Smith, cum laude. Christian Miguel Soler, cum laude. Justin L. Spears. Alicia LaFay Spriggins. David Morris Swear. Eric Martin Tada Jr., cum laude. Harris Tarazona Calderon. Emily Elizabeth Toste, cum laude. Joseph Douglas Thigpen. Andre Francis Toche Jr. Julia Merriman Todd. Kyle Thomas Townsley. Claire E. Traver. Kyle Matthew Truxillo. Jason William Van Dehey, cum laude. Patrick M. Volker. Leah Catherine Voth. Andrew Jack Walker. Brittany Elizabeth Wall. John Charles Walsh. Rachel Elizabeth Warren. Catherine Ann Wimpy. Jackson Dane West. Cameron Paul Whitmire. Garrett William Wick. Kareth Ann Willard. Marina Josephine Wilson, cum laude. Joseph Wright.
Now I am pleased to introduce Dr. F. King Alexander, who has served as the president of LSU since 2013. Prior to his appointment, Dr. Alexander was president of California State University, Long Beach from 2005 to 2013. It is one of the nation's largest public universities located in Southern California. During his more than 7-year tenure at Cal State Long Beach, he was twice named the California State University Student Association President of the Year. Dr. Alexander served as president of Murray State University in Kentucky from 2001 to 2005. He was a faculty member at the University of Illinois Champaign-Urbana, where he was the director of the Graduate Higher Education Program. A Kentucky native who grew up in North Florida, President Alexander received his PhD from the University of Wisconsin-Madison in Higher Education Administration and a Master of Science degree from the University of Oxford, Oxford, England, in Comparative Educational Studies. He is a great friend of the LSU Law Center. President Alexander, thank you for joining us for our commencement exercises.
Thank you, Dean Galligan. It's so wonderful to see you, after seeing you 3 years ago when you first entered, to see all of you here graduating together. I'm sure of a couple things. I know that you've been through undergrad, now you've been through law school, so you've spent 6, 7, 8, some of you 9 years in college. And I know I'm sure that you're ready to graduate. I'm even more sure that the folks behind you, parents and friends and relatives, are ready for you to graduate. I'm also sure that you're entering a profession where you will not be the most popular profession in society most of the time. So it's a great challenge that you face, but popularity can be overrated. And if I can share with you just a brief story. My grandfather, from Eastern Kentucky, was a mountain educator. He was the most unpopular person in the state of Kentucky for the last 25 years of his professional career. He was unpopular in Louisville, in the urban areas. He's unpopular in the rural areas, from Eastern Kentucky, Pikeville, all the way out to Monkey's Eyebrow in the west. And you can look it up. There's a town called Monkey's Eyebrow, Kentucky. He was unpopular because in 1960, they gave him the job of Deputy Superintendent of Public Schools in the state of Kentucky. And his task was to enforce Brown versus Board of Education, which overturned Plessy versus Ferguson, which is a 9th Ward case out of New Orleans, where separate but equal was the rule of the day. Brown versus Board of Education was about desegregation. He had to close African American schools that had been around for a generation. He had to close white schools that had been around for a century and merge students and put them together. He was the most unpopular person in the state. Through the bomb threats, through the life threats, through everything he had to endure from 1960 till he retired in 1978. I asked him in the mid-'80s, I asked him, what carried you through all that? How did you get through this period of uncertainty, of the bomb threats and everything else? I said, who was on your side? He said, I had one thing on my side, and that's all I needed. I had the law on my side, and the federal judges who enforced that law. That's what carried him through, and he said he could sleep at night because he knew he was doing what was right. So when you're faced with a decision about popularity or doing what's right, know that popularity comes and goes. But doing what's right, with your legal experience and your legal knowledge, doing what's right can have intergenerational impact for the rest of your life and the lives of those generations well beyond our own. So congratulations, graduates of the class of 2019. Go out there and do what's right.
Thank you, President Alexander. Now I would like to welcome Megan Johnson back to the stage. She's the president of the 3L class. She will deliver the class farewell. Megan is from Hackberry, Louisiana, and received her bachelor's degree in mass communications journalism from LSU.
Good morning, everyone. I would first like to thank you all for being here today and helping us make this day so special. From the faculty that have guided us here and the staff that have coordinated this entire event, and of course our friends and family who have supported us during this entire journey, we thank you. To my classmates, what a journey it has been. We've conquered everything from flooding during orientation to snow days during finals, and through all the hurdles, we have made it. It has been an amazing 3 years for our class and an honor to serve as your 3L class president. I hope I helped make this year an enjoyable one for you, and I promise that you will never again have to submit an answer to a poll for me. In coming to law school, I, like many of you, received a lot of advice on different things. I received advice on what I needed to read before classes start, not to embarrass myself at the first social event, and just how much the faculty would teach me in these 3 short years. But what they all failed to mention in their words of wisdom was how much I would learn from all of you. You have all encouraged me, challenged me, made me think of things from a different viewpoint, and overall pushed me not only to be a better advocate, but also a better person. I have the greatest respect for each and every one of you, and I am grateful for our time here together. You've been my peers, my competition, and my friends, and I wouldn't have wanted to take on the rigors of law school with anyone else. The people in this class have already accomplished amazing things, and it is only the beginning. I can't wait to see what we all accomplish in the years to come. Congratulations, class of 2019. We did it!
Thank you, Megan, and congratulations to each and every one of you. Let me now ask the LSU Law School class of 2019 to please rise. Ladies and gentlemen, the LSU Law School class of 2019. That's my favorite part, but make sure you wash your hands. You are now officially LSU alums. You may move the tassel from the right side to the left side if you haven't already done so. On the way out today, Office of Alumni Relations staff will give you a gift bag containing your official LSU Law alumni pin. Wear it with pride. You are always part of the LSU Law family. Your faculty will lead the recessional today and will create an honor corridor leading out of the arena through which you, our newest LSU Law alumni, will walk as you receive our congratulations. We ask all our guests to please remain at your seats for the formal recession of the graduates and the Golden Grads, and then exit through the southeast portal. The script says point to your left, southeast portal, or upper level exits to meet graduates on the outside concourse. Thanks again for being here. It's been a great day.
Yeah, I'm ready. We got the whole thing in the background. Thank y'all so much for doing this.